just still don't know what to make of Brock Purdy. I've seen some criticism of the deep ball. He was off on some throws. I think the 49ers are the ultimate hold-your-breath team.
Brock Purdy was really good. Yards per pass, not a lot of dink and dunk. He's throwing it up the sideline. He rarely even has a bad half.
Is another playmaker to discuss, even though you don't want to believe it. His name's Brock Purdy.
You know, you guys, I mean, I'm just going to call it straight up how I see it at this point, but it feels like the 2023 San Francisco 49ers are truly unlike anything we've ever seen before. And while I say this, I definitely could back up that statement with, say, any of their rather convincing victories early on in this season, maybe their unmatched level of two-way dominance that is shown on both sides of the field, or even the fact that they have the most homegrown all-pro talent in the entire league. But the crazy thing is that when you compare all of that to some of the new specifics that the 49ers are trying to implement into their play this season, this team has somehow got even more unpredictable. But before we get into that, today's video is brought to you by our friends at DraftKings. Now, you guys know at this point, things are already starting to get very interesting in this football season. And well, if you're not in on the action yet, our friends over at DraftKings Sportsbook might just change your mind. Because for any new customers who download the DraftKings Sportsbook app, use promo code DIGEST and bet $5 on any wager, will receive $200 in bonus bets instantly. And whether it be the college slate on Saturday or getting in the mix on NFL Sunday, DraftKings has all the betting options that you need, including same-game parlays, where you combine multiple bets from the same game for a shot at bigger winnings. And if you're already signed up at DraftKings like myself, you can get a no-sweat bet on each game day throughout the month of September. So once again, download the DraftKings Sportsbook app, use promo code DIGEST, and bet just $5 on any wager to receive your $200 in bonus bets instantly. That's promo code DIGEST only at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official partner of the NFL. Okay, so to get back on topic with the San Francisco 49ers, this is a team where, honestly, I can't believe I'm even about to say this out loud, but even despite this team having a top 3 scoring presence, a top 3 air attack efficiency, the number 1 effective ground game, and even a top 2 defense in the entire league at this point, I mean, honestly, 49ers fans would probably be the first ones to tell you this, but it feels like they haven't even come close to hitting their ceiling yet. And to an extent, aside from some of the ridiculous numbers that we're seeing from them so far, and of course being atop almost all of the power rankings, this is definitely still true with the handful of miscues that we have seen from them here and there so far this season. But what if I told you that some of the miscues that we are seeing are almost playing directly into this guy's master plan? Now, whenever you sit down and talk about the San Francisco 49ers offense, I mean, there's no other word to perfectly describe it than a circus. Because between all of the personnel combinations they run, all of the pre-snap motion they incorporate, and also not to mention having probably the best all-around group of yards after the catch targets from top to bottom that we've ever seen, at the end of the day, and obviously the end of the season, the success of this team is ultimately going to come down to this guy. And when you take a little bit of a dive into his numbers this season, compared to the rest of the league at least, you wouldn't think there's as much early criticism on Brock Purdy as there has been. And it's almost entirely having to do with his deep ball accuracy. And yes, I do understand that while it has been inconsistent at times, I mean, you guys also got to take the highs with the lows here. I mean, come on. And from most of the positives that we've seen, it feels like Brock Purdy is definitely capable of operating a much more extended air attack within this offense. And well, if anyone has received that message loud and clear, it's definitely Kyle Shanahan. For example, while a lot of people have found it easy to, I guess you could say, make fun of the 49ers offense in the past for their high-level usage of checkdowns, seam routes, and again, having maybe the most stacked offensive weapon core ever, this season has been very different so far in terms of how much more explosive seeking this offense has become. And if you were to notice this anywhere outside of these numbers, it would definitely be in Shanahan's route combinations. Because, I mean, you guys are seeing this firsthand right alongside me, We're seeing more stop and go routes and deep ball targets. We're also seeing a wider distribution from Brock Purdy to all 3 levels of the field through the air. And all of a sudden, even though most people will still refer to this offense as check down reliant from what we've seen so far this season, I mean, they are still airing it out more than 90% of teams in the entire league right now. But the thing about that is they're not exactly doing it by choice. They're just doing it to outcoach every single one of their opponents. Now, what exactly do I mean by this? Well, with San Francisco going into this season with what many would consider a middle-of-the-pack offensive line, Brock Purdy, yeah, he's been pressured a lot to start this season, and the pocket time and pressure percentage do more than enough to testify to that. But with these teams constantly trying to throw that pressure at Brock Purdy in the pocket, I mean, it essentially plays directly into where this team does best. For starters, if a defense collapses the box or sends more than 4, there's the ridiculously wide open spots through the middle of the field, or even the screens to the outside that pretty much work 99% of the time. But then, if they try to eliminate these options and drop back their coverage even further, most defenses then play a game of pick your poison, between praying that this wide receiver core doesn't absolutely carve up zone defenses as they tend to do, or even throwing them into one-on-one coverage, which, as we've seen, almost never works for 60 minutes. But you guys, what's easily the craziest part about all of this, and even with how much more evolved the pass game is becoming week by week, is that right alongside this, with the dual-headed monster of a backfield in Christian McCaffrey and Elijah Mitchell, they're also on pace to have a far better season on the ground than they did as a collective unit in 2022. But even aside from how well the ground game and the air attack have continually complemented each other so far this season, that's definitely not the only reason that nobody knows how to stop this team right now. Because if there's anything out there that leaves defenses more clueless than the play calling from this team, it is absolutely their personnel groupings. Because when you consider this along with the frequency in the formations they use, they are seriously the most unorthodox team I've ever seen. Because again, as we see with formations, they run just about everything possible. But whether it's them using these formations in situations like 11 personnel, with splitting out any of their top tier guys like Deebo, Aiyuk, Jauan Jennings, McCloud, or even the new rookie in town in Ronnie Bell, maybe even their more frequently ran 2-back personnel that continues to show off one of the more underrated and versatile weapons for this offense in Kyle Shanahan, or even situations with 12 personnel to get their tight ends like George Kittle and Charlie Warner feeding off each other. Point being in all of this is that yes, while obviously when looking at this roster on paper, it was once again set up to succeed and even improve, but with the early involvement of the play calling that we've seen, and especially the execution from guys like Purdy, Deebo, CMC, Kittle, etc., this, along with the defense that is only set to further improve as the weeks go on as well. I mean, I'm just straight up not sure if there's an answer for it, but I also want to hear what you guys have to think. So let me know in the comments, what has surprised you the most out of everything that we've seen from San Francisco up to this point, and if you had to predict their record at the end of the season. But once again, thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate y'all more than anything, and I will see you guys in the next video.